60 Minutes Rewind.
12 years ago, 60 Minutes aired a story about lost boys from Sudan who fought off unspeakable dangers and then flew off to the United States. It all began in the 1980s during Sudan's civil war, in which more than 2 million people died. The boys' parents were killed, their sisters often sold into slavery. Many of the boys died too, but the survivors, thousands of them, started walking across East Africa alone. 5 years later, they walked into a refugee camp in Kenya. That's where we first met them, when many were hoping to go to the United States. Well, 3,000 did, as part of the largest resettlement of its kind in American history. We followed the boys for more than a decade and couldn't resist revisiting them, see how they're doing. But first, we'll take you back to northern Kenya, to the Kakuma refugee camp, springtime 2001. Nothing drew a crowd like the list. Once a week, the Lost Boys saw their destiny on a bulletin board, the staples of life. On this day, 90 learned they'd be going to America.
Boston.
I'm going to Florida. Florida.
Every Sunday, a plane arrived at the camp to take the boys from nowhere to somewhere. From Kakuma to JFK and beyond. Not all of the Lost Boys got to go. Joseph Taban Rufino had walked to the board so many times he tried not to get excited. What's new?
Something new.
What?
Yeah, I've seen my name on the board.
Your name's on the board, huh?
Yeah.
Where are you going?
This is Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Yeah.
Do you know where it is?
I don't know.
Abraham Yelniel was taking this walk for the 25th time. He was an ordained minister of Sudan's Episcopal Church at Kakuma. He looked at the board as if it were a holy scroll.
I'm going to Chicago. Is it interesting?
Oh, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
They were called the Lost Boys because they were between 5 and 11 when their Christian villages in southern Sudan were attacked by Islamist forces from the north. When they saw their villages burning, they started running. Streams of boys became rivers. Hundreds became thousands until an exodus of biblical proportions was underway. They walked for 3 months across Sudan, barefoot. 12,000 found refuge in Ethiopia. But after 4 years, they were chased out at gunpoint, chased to the Gilo River, where the waters did not part. For Joseph Taban, that day will never go away.
We saw so many people who were just floating on the river.
Dead bodies.
Dead bodies, yeah, who were floating on the river.
Many were shot, many drowned. Many were eaten by crocodiles. Zachariah Magak was there.
1,000 to 2,000 were died in that river.
1,000 or 2,000 died
2,000
in that river?
Yes.
It wasn't much better on the other side. They walked across deserts, over mountains. They had no food or water. Paul Dang was 7 when he started the walk.
You have to urinate so that you drink your own urine.
Did you ever do it yourself?
Yeah, I didn't want to die. Other people didn't want to die.
In the spring of 1992, after walking more than 1,000 miles, the boys made it over the border into Kenya to a desolate place called Kakuma. For the UN, it was an emergency of vast proportions, these emaciated children. For the boys, it was the safest they'd been in 5 years. Joseph became a medical assistant at the camp clinic. Abraham found a job preaching the gospel in a church built of mud. The Lost Boys couldn't go home to Sudan, and Kenya didn't want them. Then, in the year 2000, the State Department decided they deserved a break and invited them to come live in the United States.
What we want to do is give you a correct understanding of what life will be like in America.
Before they took off for their new lives in the new world, Sasha Chanoff, a teacher from Boston, gave them a crash course, America 101.
Does anybody know who the president of the US is now?
George Bush W.
Things they could not imagine, like winter.
This is a little what winter in America feels like. What does it feel like?
It's very cold.
Will you die because of that coolness?
No, people do not die because of the coolness.
He had 3 days to prepare them for a leap of 1,000 years.
Many of them have never been exposed to lights or to a fork and a knife or seen a TV. It's a group that's lost in time.
They had 4 days to pack their luggage. They took little, left less behind. Abraham was taking a book he'd been carrying for 10 years.
You still have the Bible that you carried from Ethiopia here?
Yes, it's my life. I've been called a lost boy, but I'm not lost from God. I lost from my parents.
As in any farewell, the Lost Boys were saying, "See you soon." But they knew better. Kakuma was losing its doctor and its priest.
Take it together and put it in.
The boys had never been on a plane before. They'd never even been on a bus.
Good.
Five planes in 2 days. First initiation rite, airplane food. And then changing planes in Brussels, getting their feet on the ground in the Western world. Next stop for Joseph Taban and his brothers, Kansas City.
There it is.
Oh, yeah.
You see the buildings?
Yeah.
That is Kansas City.
I see. I didn't know that this place is so big like this.
Abraham, the preacher man, was supposed to go to Chicago, but at the last minute, that was changed to Atlanta. Volunteers introduced them to the new apartments, to American mysteries like a sink or a stove.
Don't touch because it burns.
It's hot.
A vacuum cleaner, or a can, let alone a can opener.
You want to try?
Wonderful machine.
Within a few weeks, Joseph had his first job in a sweltering fabric factory. When he got home from work at 11 at night, he stayed up studying for that medical career he'd always dreamed of. You won't be surprised to learn that Abraham found his salvation in church. All Saints, one of the largest Episcopal churches in Atlanta. A month after his arrival, he was invited to be a guest deacon.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Thanks be to God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. You were terrific, Abraham.
Yes.
You were so good.
The big problem was the sheer size of America and everything in it. Home Depot was a long way from home.
The store is too big.
Oh, I know it is.
This is confusing.
Confusing? Try to imagine what a fountain looks like to a man who's walked 1,000 miles through a desert. Sasha Chanoff, who taught the boys back in Kenya, said it was not easy for them to distinguish between what was real and what was pure fantasy in America.
They're hearing that people have gone to the moon. If you're telling me people have gone to the moon, then they're seeing on TV that a horse can talk. Why is a horse talking so different from someone going to the moon? It's hard for people to distinguish what is reality and what is not. Some boys saw a street sign that said dead end, and they thought, well, if I go down there, am I going to die?
Then came 9/11, just a few months after the boys got here. They thought they'd left that kind of thing far behind forever.
And it seems that war is following us. Wherever we go, war came up to us.
Let's pray.
As it did once again. The boys weren't surprised by it, not the way Americans were. For them, Islam and terrorism went together, always had. Their reaction was immediate. Help the victims. In Atlanta, they offered to donate blood for the survivors in New York, but they were turned away.
So what we did, we just collect some money, $2, $5, because we have nothing. And we give about $400.
$400?
Yes. And that is amazing.
It really is.
Yes. A community with nothing. People just came from Africa.
But they weren't coming anymore. After 9/11, the flight scheduled to bring over more Lost Boys were stopped. And the boys already here were having a tough time of it. That dreaded American winter was now upon them. They'd been warned, but it still came as a shock.
Look, 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 look.
Winter gave them fun times as well, though. Ice-capades. What Americans call a learning experience. And Christmas, their first.
In America, we call him Santa Claus.
Okay, Santa Claus.
Yeah.
I do heard of Santa Claus.
He lives up in the North Pole and he rides on reindeer.
Okay. You mean he lives in North Pole?
Yeah.
Is he from, how do I call these people?
Eskimos.
Eskimos, yeah?
Well, he's the guy who brings presents to all the children on Christmas.
Okay. Yeah.
He makes kids happy. That's the important thing.
That's good, that's good.
Okay, pull back.
Within a year, a Kansas City investment banker, Joey McCliney, took Joseph under his wing and put him in the saddle.
Whoa now. Only use that leg.
McCliney offered up his brand new car for Joseph's first driving lesson.
There you go. Okay. Okay, stop, Joseph. Stop. Brake, 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 brake.
Oh, God.
Brake. Okay, don't, let go, Joseph. Hit the brake.
Isn't it?
That's the brake, the big one. Okay.
Oh, God.
Relax.
I'm so sorry what I made.
All right.
Yeah?
Relax. Okay.
I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah.
That was nearly 12 years ago. In a moment, we'll give you a picture of the road the Lost Boys have been taking in America.
The story will continue after this.
Before their arrival in America in 2001, the Lost Boys of Sudan knew very little about what would be a totally new world for them. For the U.S. government, it was quite a social experiment. America may be a country of immigrants, but it's not often that the State Department organizes an airlift of people who know virtually nothing about the modern world. The Lost Boys were sent all over the place, from Fargo, North Dakota, to Phoenix, Arizona. Joseph Taban Rufino landed in Kansas City. Abraham Yelnial was sent to Atlanta. We never forgot about them and their fellow Lost Boys, and we felt good when it appeared they hadn't forgotten about us.
Hey, Bob Simon! How you doing? Long time no see.
Hey.
How you doing, buddy?
How are you
Good to see you, man.
Been a long time.
We visited the Lost Boys from time to time over the last 12 years, wanted to be there for the moments they never could have imagined.
I hereby declare.
On this day, Abraham was one of 92 people from 37 countries to get a new piece of paper.
Congratulations, you're a United States citizen.
Thank you very much.
A lost boy who now belongs somewhere.
Do you think of yourself as an American?
Yes. This home for me.
Abraham is so proud of his American passport, he carries it with him wherever he goes.
The only papers we have are from America.
Are you telling me that passport in that jacket pocket of yours is the first identity paper you've ever had?
This it?
Before that, you had no document at all?
No.
Joseph still hasn't gotten a passport. His driver's license was stolen from him in Kansas City, and that was just the beginning.
You've had your car flooded?
Right.
You've been stabbed?
Exactly.
You've been hit by a car?
That's right.
Your kitchen was set on fire?
Indeed.
And you like it here?
You know, things happen.
There was more bad news at work. Joseph was laid off a few times from his job at a grain company, the victim of the tough economy. He's back at work now, and in his small, dimly lit apartment, still studies medical books, even while his dream of going to med school is slipping away.
Do you feel like you've been successful in America?
Not at all. My main aim was to go to the school in order to be what I've said, to be a doctor. But things fall apart.
So unless you're a doctor, you will not feel that you are successful.
That's true.
Abraham did graduate from college.
It's been a long journey, but God bless me.
After many 4 a.m. bus rides to school, he got a degree in biblical studies from Atlanta Christian College.
Congratulations.
So how did you make those roofs?
Sasha Chanoff, who led those orientation classes back at Kakuma, now runs an organization called Refuge Point, which champions refugees in Africa. He still stays in touch with the Lost Boys.
I would say this is one of the most successful resettlements in U.S. history.
Wow.
Some of them are in law school, some are in medical school. But of course, when you have 4,000 guys or so who arrive, some don't do as well. Some struggle.
Some have had problems with drugs and alcohol. A few are in jail. But some Lost Boys who were orphaned by war have been wounded fighting for the U.S. military in Iraq and Afghanistan. Daud Khan made it out unscathed.
So you were in Iraq
Three times. Yes.
He joined the Army after 9/11.
I'm a young man able to hold a gun or to go with the other young men in this country who were born here. Why not? That's my duty.
So you joined the Army because you wanted to give something back to America?
Yes.
Thank you, America. I want to let the whole world know.
Dominic Leake, a friend of Joseph's in Kansas City, wrote a song he says represents the feelings of many Lost Boys.
When I came to this country, I was helped by the government of this country and the people of America. So what I did was I thanked them for the opportunity they gave to me and my fellow Lost Boy.
And we were forced into the river.
Abraham feels he has a mission to make sure people will not forget. He speaks at universities across the country. Here he was at Yale, explaining to students why he believes God kept the boys alive.
God kept us alive to be witness of what took place in Sudan. That's the only thing. It's not because we were more important than others, than our mother, than father, than brothers have died, but simply so that we will be witness.
It happened a long time ago, so the Lost Boys don't have too much trouble talking about it. But at nighttime...
Do you have a lot of nightmares?
Oh, indeed, a lot. During the young age where we were when I was there, we were not supposed to see the dead body or bury the dead body. And we did that. And that's all comes like sometimes in form of dream.
For the Lost Boys, the most momentous news came in July of 2011. Their long-suffering homeland, South Sudan, was declared the world's newest nation.
You saw the independence celebrations on your cell phone?
Yeah.
How did it make you feel?
Oh, I was overwhelmed, going into tears.
They were an important factor that led to that independence.
Hang on. They were an important factor that led to the independence?
I think so. They created a political environment in the U.S. where people were finally realizing what was happening in this remote genocide in Sudan that nobody had really heard of on a large scale before.
Not long ago, Sudanese flocked by the hundreds to a town called Awil for a celebration. It wasn't Independence Day or anything like that. They came to a newly built brick cathedral to witness the installation of that preacher named Abraham as the first Episcopal bishop of his region in South Sudan.
Accepted and invested.
Accepted and invested.
And now to be inducted.
And now to be inducted.
A Lost Boy no more. It's Bishop Abraham now. And who knows what's coming next?
Maybe your next name will be Archbishop.
I don't know about that.
Abraham divides his time now between Africa and America. Not only is he an Anglican bishop, but a husband and a father.
Oh, my heavens. This is your family.
Yes.
He goes back to Africa whenever he can to visit his new family. He got married in Kenya, has 4 kids. He wants them to join him in Atlanta, but red tape keeps getting in the way.
Well, I would love that to happen, Bob. I've been tried for them to come, but did not come. Maybe one day somebody will surprise me that you and your kid come to America.
Joseph hasn't gone back to Africa, has had no reason to. His whole family was dead as far as he knew. Then, incredible news. His mother Perina was alive, had survived the war, had made it to a refugee camp in Uganda. And there was another miracle, Skype. So a few months ago, Joseph ironed his best suit and went over to his mentor's house. His mother had been driven 3 hours to the offices of IOM, the International Resettlement Agency in South Sudan. It was the first time mother and son were going to see each other since they were separated by war 25 years ago.
Hello.
Hello.
Aban.
You missed.
Mambo.
Angai.
Mom.
Mom.
Agora.
Angai.
Mom. Ateri.
Kuma you missed.
Wallahi. Obo gunabe. Agora.
His mother had thought Joseph was dead, had held a funeral service for him. Even now, she had no idea what he'd been through.
Ethiopia, okay?
When Joseph tried to tell her, he just couldn't get through it. But there were light moments too, shared memories of Joseph's happy childhood in a country village, before the war ended childhood and everything else. And of course, his mother wanted to know why, after all these years, Joseph had not married a nice American girl. After almost an hour, their time was almost up. His mother asked Joseph what all mothers ask their sons, "When will you come see me?" And Joseph answered the only possible answer.
Okay?
As soon as I can, Mom. As soon as I can.
Como you miss? Como?